Guys, it's John here for another divisional preview video, and today we'll be looking at the Northwest Division. And we're going to start with the Calgary Flames, who I have coming in 5th in the division. And there's a couple reasons why I think the Flames are going to struggle this year. I do like the acquisition of Dennis Wideman. I think that'll definitely help them, but not only defensively but offensively, because Dennis Wideman was actually an all-star for the Capitals last year. So that's a good move. In goal, Mika Kiprusoff used to be one of the best goalies in the league, but he's fallen off a little bit these past couple of years, and I think he's going to continue falling. And he's still like a solid #1 goalie, but I think he's gonna drop off even more this year. So that's not going to be a strength for the Flames, which it used to be. They still have Jay Bouwmeester and Mark Giordano in the back, so their defense isn't horrible, but Wideman gives them more depth. And up front, they have a couple of youngsters in Michael Backlund and Sven Barchi. They also signed Steve Bajan just like a week during the training camp on a pro tryout. They have Mike Camilleri back for another season. Blake Como, Curtis Glencross. They acquired Yuri Hudler, which I think is a good signing for them, like a third-line center. They still, of course, have Captain Jerome McGinley, Matt Stajan, Lee Stepniak, who was hurt, I think, for a little bit last year, but he's a solid right winger for them. I think he'll have success. And Alex Tanguay, who I heard the Flames are trying experimenting him out at center, which will be interesting to see how he does. But all in all, I just don't think the Flames have a good enough team to compete in this Northwest Division, especially with the advances in the Wild and the Oilers and such. So I have them coming in last. Move now over to the Colorado Avalanche. And we'll start in goal. They have Semyon Varlamov and Jean-Sebastien Giguère. So it'll be interesting to see how Varlamov does this year, because his career's kind of been back and forth. Like he had like a great season in Washington, and then he had a horrible season in Washington and wasn't even the starter. But it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I think he'll do fine. Defense, they signed Greg Zanin in the offseason from Boston, so that just gives them more depth. They still have Eric Johnson. But other than Eric Johnson, they're really not deep at all at defense. They have Ryan O'Brien and Shane O'Brien. and Matt Hunwick. But I mean, their defense struggles at times. But they have another team with a great young forward core. They have the youngest captain ever, Gabriel Landeskog, Paul Stastny, Matt Duchene, Steve Downey, Cody McLeod, John Mitchell, Jamie McGinn is a good signing for them, Chuck Kobasu, of course Milan Hajduk's still there. And there's the whole issue with Ryan O'Reilly, because I don't know if he's holding out, or I don't know, where he wants to stay in the KHL. Something's going on there. So they don't have him, which is going to be a huge loss for them until he comes back, because he was their #1 center last year. And they also signed P.A. Parento in the offseason, which I thought was a great signing. So I think the Avalanche will have a better year than they did last year, but I think they'll be like on the border line of playoff teams. I'm thinking they're going to miss out. Probably, I have them around the 10th seed, the 10th in the West, just missing out because they're missing just that little bit of experience and defense. But in a couple of years, they will definitely be a team to reckon with the young core of forwards. Now we'll move over to the exciting Edmonton Oilers, who I have coming in 3rd this year. We'll start in goal. They have Devin Dubnyk. It's gonna be his first year where he's like the all-in-out #1 guy in Edmonton. He's not young, but he is inexperienced. But he's a big frame. He's 6'5", 210, and I think he can be the solution for the Oilers in net. At D, they have a pretty solid defense. They have Ryan Whitney if he can stay healthy, Ladislav Smid, Nick Schultz, who they acquired from the Wild at the trade deadline last year, Justin Schultz, the youngster who they signed. That's a great signing. A lot of the analysts are raving about him, saying he's the real deal. They have Jeff Petrie, Theo Peckham, and Corey Potter round out the depth for the Oilers. So their defense is steady, and of course their forwards. You have the last 3 first overall picks in Nail Yakupov, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Taylor Hall. And then you still have Jordan Eberle, who is a young leader for the team, and Sam Gagner, and Magnus Pajarvi. And then you have veterans in Ben Eager, Ryan Smith, Darcy Hordichuk, Sean Horkoff, the captain, Alex Hemsky. People often forget about him, but he is a very solid player, and Eric Belanger. So this team has, if each year they're getting more and more experience, that's the only thing this team's lacking. Once this team learns how to win games, win 2-1 and 1-0 games, and get as much points as they possibly can, they will become a force in the West again, just like the year where they went to the finals and lost to the Hurricanes. So I have them in third. I think they might sneak in at the 7 or 8 seed. That'd be good for them. Now we'll move over to the Minnesota Wild, who had a very talked about offseason as they signed Ryan Suter and Zach Parise, who are now they're both alternate captains. So we'll start in goal. They have Nicholas Backstrom and Josh Harding. So their goaltending isn't stellar, but it's solid. It's good enough to get them to the playoffs. At D, of course, they have Ryan Suter now, Jared Spurgeon, Tom Gilbert, who was in the trade with the Oilers. And they also have youngster Matthew Dumba, who I believe has made the team. I think he has. And then we'll look up front. They have a pretty deep and solid forward core. They have Pierre-Marc Bouchard, Kyle Brodziak, Kyle Clutterbuck, who is a great young power forward. Matt Cullen is a good third-line center. Youngster Michael Granlund. Danny Heatley, the veteran. Matt Cassian, who I'm not sure if he'll get a ton of time. He might get fourth line minutes. They have Captain Mikko Koivu, who, if he can stay healthy, will help lead the team. You have Zenon Konopka, who they signed in the offseason. Of course, Zach Parise and Devin Stedeguchi. So the Wild have a very solid top 2 lines and a pretty good third line as well. So if everyone can stay healthy and their goaltending doesn't let them down, I think the Wild can have success. I'm thinking maybe they can go around the 5th or the 6th seed this year. And now we'll go to who I think is going to win the Northwest Division, the Vancouver Canucks. So we'll start in goal, where there's been a lot of drama lately with Roberto Luongo and Corey Schneider and who's going to be the starter. And, I think they're going to have Corey Schneider be the number 1 to start. But I think they're still trying to trade Luongo, but it's really that talks have broken down lately. So I think really it's just going to be, if Schneider ever falters, they're not going to be afraid to put Luongo right in there. And I think with this condensed schedule, when there's a lot of back-to-back games, which there are a lot, they'll just be splitting time. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see Schneider with 28 starts and Luongo with 20 or something like that. Over to defense, they have a very solid defense. They re-signed Alexander Edler to I think a 6-year contract, which is very good for them. They signed Jason Garrison in the offseason, which is really good. That's a really good signing. Gives them more offense in the back. And they of course have Dan Hamhuis, Christopher Tanev, Kevin Bieksa. They signed Cam Barker to a 1-year I don't know. It was a 1-year really cheap contract. And they have Andrew Alberts and Keith Ballard rounding up for depth. So their defense is pretty solid. And up front they have David Booth, who I believe is still hurt, Alexander Burrows, Chris Higgins, Zach Cassian, who they acquired in the trade with Buffalo, where they traded away Cody Hodgson, Maxime Lapierre, who's a 3rd or 4th line center, Manny Malhotra, Mason Raymond, who I think is now fully recovered from the injury he received actually against the Bruins in the finals 2 years ago. And then of course you have the Sedin brothers, who will always be leading their team in points, and you also have Dale Weiss. So all in all, Vancouver just has a very deep team. They're solid in all areas, forward, defense, and in goal. And I think this division in general, other than Vancouver, it's not the most even the division. The Wild will step up this year, but it's not the best division. So I have Vancouver. I think they'll be like the 3 seed though. So that is my Northwest Division preview, guys. I hope you liked it, and I'll talk to you guys next time.
We started from the bottom, but we racing to the top. So we never ever sleep, but got dreams of getting on. And times are looking hard, but you know we'll never stop. And we do it for the fans, cause these fans are all we got. But we ain't in this alone, we thankful for your help. I'm rapping heavyweight and reaching for that.